camp thing.
Oh.
And his kids were there still. This was a long time ago. They were little, well, not little, teenagers. And I was just miserable. And he came home and I said, I think I broke my ribs. And he said they were sticking out.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
they were just like this. He said, I have to put those back. I said, well, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to hurt you bad.
You gotta
And
tape you.
he went and got a belt
Yeah,
and just, and
it was bad.
Got your attention real quick, didn't it?
Oh.
he about cried. He said, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, when I got home at the end of the day, because I did that on Tuesday, as soon as I walked in the door, I dropped my keys and I'm like, oh shit.
Now I gotta pick them up.
So I went over to pick them up and they re-popped again.
Oh.
Oh my god, I about pissed my pants.
You know,
I
you should
got
try
so
those
bad.
marijuana gummies now.
I would take just about anything, trust me.
For that chronic pain, what the hell, that'd be a good excuse.
Yeah,
Might actually improve your golf game, too.
could. The funny thing, so he had me come back on Thursday just to kind of check on me or whatever, and he's like, you're not gonna play men's league tonight, are you? And I'm like, no. I'm like, I will probably take off football for a couple of weeks, so.
What advise it, huh?
Yeah.
So he thinks he popped the cartilage.
Yeah, so if I'm still in pretty good pain next Thursday, then he wants to do an x-ray to see if they are broke, but I feel like I'm getting a little better each day, like I'm getting around much better today than I was initially,
yeah.
so. But it's surprising though, like, you don't realize how much you use like your ribs and your chest to get around, like, just getting out of bed, it's like, oh,
Breathing.
yes, breathing.
Yeah,
Taking a
breathing.
deep breath
Yeah.
sucks.
You know, and being the good boss I am, you know, I've been sending him reels that are making him laugh. So.
Oh yeah.
Or giving him tasks, like, we need to put that cabinet over there.
No. Of course, we got
Let's
a ton
load
of
this
our.
up, this equipment up here.
Well, I don't know if this be, you know, HR, you know, I should report it, but I asked him to move a box for me, and he flat out said, eat my ass.
Oh.
It's not happening, but
For the record.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
YouTube.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can quote me there, you two. Yeah. And then we, of
Well,
course,
that's
we had,
disrespect, that's insubordination.
it was, and I was proud of it too.
Good, you own it, that's, all
And I laughed.
right, never mind. Gotcha.
So it's
It
been a fun
definitely gets
week.
your attention real quick when you do something.
No, I know I had every once in a while I sleep wrong and my back hurts really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And if I cough or something,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, oh, geez.
Yep.
And I've had it a couple times where I felt like, I can't move. I can't move.
Yep.
You
Those
know,
are the ones where you stay flat in bed and you kind of got to pivot and roll out a little bit.
That's how.
Well, that's when I take out
every
those
day, is
gummies.
Like roll it and get out.
Yeah, he's just popping the wheel.
Yeah, you can start watching videos.
Well, officially, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, all right, let's get down to business.
So DS side of things, wrapping up, submitting some final reports for all the grants because we are in that wonderful grant season time. Had a really good meeting with Roundup Reach. Was it
Yeah.
on Wednesday?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, Wednesday.
So everybody's kind of on the same page for all the projects going on, and then it sounds like some of the studies that have already been done, the other groups, you know, since they're different groups, are going to start sharing data back and forth. So that'll kind of be an overall master plan study from the new campsite location all the way down to Pedrazi's. So that's moving forward.
Now, is that part of Mike's group, the Bear Collins vision?
Yeah.
And that's part of this outfit that's doing the feasibility study?
Well, they are now. So our feasibility study was through Great West, but now since Courtney works for Great West, so now they're integrating into the Bear Collins and the.
It's a little convoluted because in order for them to do feasibility, they need to know what this committee recommends happens to, they need to kind of work
Yeah,
together.
they need to work together, and so like on the Reach side is where we come in, or at least the DES is letting them know, hey, these are the deed restrictions, this is what you can and can't do, so you can pursue this kind of feasibility, and then likewise DEQ's, you know, finding money for us,
Did that guy, what's his name?
Scott Graham.
Yeah, is he involved now?
Yep, he's involved, and he is now, they said, officially contracted with DEQ.
Yeah.
So,
So he was the one that retired, right?
yep,
I
he's the
think
one.
he's the one that's keeping this thing. He's
Yes.
Trying to resurrect this, because he knows where the money's at.
Yep, yep. Yeah, as they called it,
We-
institutional.
When we had,
It's
it's
too
been
long.
a couple of years now, when we had that meeting down there, was he involved then?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's been involved for a long time.
Long time.
He's a good resource.
Yes, he is.
He was, I mean, when FEMA was doing it and everything, he was,
Yeah. You can mind
And also remember, keep in mind, guys, he says it's all, anything related coals, so you might, this Milwaukee Bridge and whatever.
Yep.
it might be.
And we did discuss that, and
Yeah.
so, potential DEQ funds, and then we gotta resubmit our permit with FWP since we had to, on paper, change
Fish
this,
and Wildlife Parks or
Yep.
whatever.
to change the scope of work to include the bank stabilization.
Yeah.
So we gotta resubmit the permit with that, but
Okay.
she, her and Ruggles were gonna head down right after the meeting and look at it, and, cause Mike was pretty sure that it's not gonna be an issue at all,
Yeah.
so.
I didn't think so.
And you brought up Courtney there for a second. Did we need to forward that deal she had sent us?
Oh,
about?
yeah, I did forward, actually I sent 2 emails, hopefully they came through, I've been having email issues again. So, we had upped in '24, we went from 10,000 to 25,000 for Courtney. She still had the paperwork showing that it was only at that 10, so, and that was the same paperwork I had. So, on the budgets that I had submitted originally, 2 weeks ago, I just needed to increase her line item for
Okay.
floodplain admin,
Okay,
especially with all the new projects that are coming in and working on, it'll eat most of that, so.
I think one of the biggest challenges, you'll have your budget worksheet to fill out, but the biggest challenges is let's make sure we got your labor right, which is your 2340 and your DES.
Yep.
And then just where these grants go from a revenue perspective.
Yeah, Darren and I spent a whole day working on that, and I showed him kinda how to do it, so if I'm ever gone, he can do it. But yeah,
To an extent, to an extent.
yep, we worked them out, and then we put notes on there too, just for reminders on a
Okay.
few things, and, let's see, what else DES related?
And also, I should let you guys know, I'm almost done with a labor worksheet. Got all the departments and it has, the hours they work, they're currently what they're making. It's got a place to plug in a raise, once we determine it, but I assume a certain. And then based on that, and if they're getting any special stipend, like some people get 2,000 a month or whatever, and then it's social security, all those are fixed things, I ran those down.
Oh, perfect.
They should not be moving around, most of them are a flat percent, but believe it or not, the biggest expense we have is the health benefits.
Oh, yeah.
So getting that right, whether your person is participating or not participating, and then also you've got the signage, whether you're gonna have 2 people part-time, or it's a seasonal, just to kind of get that right,
Oh, yeah,
You know,
I'm glad you mentioned that,
yeah,
yep,
because I pointed that out to the refuse.
yeah. And the same logic for them, but cause what I was looking at is, I was looking at the actuals, social securities, or actually I was looking at what was budgeted. Social security against, just these things that should be flat percents, that they're not consistent between and so I talked to Mako, and then I talked to, who else did I talk to? Our insurance company, workers' comp and all that stuff.
Oh,
Got it straight. So anyway, and it's not that tough, to be honest with you, but I wanna, as a pass, you guys do your worksheet,
mhm,
you review what we put for labor, you edit it or whatever, and then, what the cash, what cash you got, how much you're gonna move, actually the resources. getting your revenue right.
Yep. Perfect.
And it, like I said, it's not that complicated once you really kind of get into it. What made it so messed up was all these year-end entries. That was like, what do I got? How much cash do I got? You know,
Perfect. Yeah, because for the first pass, I definitely just did a swag at it, so.
it's all right.
But, so that's kind of all the DES stuff. Fire side of things, we did have one fire citation that we did this week. We had some kids down in the meat house area, had a bonfire going.
Really?
So it's one of those, it was big enough that it, you know, it was an actual bonfire, so they didn't have a permit since that's technically, I always thought that the meat house was within the city limit border. It's not, so it's in the county, so they were required to have a permit. They were young kids, 18, 19-year-old, drinking and all that stuff, so their party cost them a
Kind of
little
like we
bit.
used to do in high school.
Yep, yep.
Lawn party.
Same things that we used to
Out
do
by the river
before
or
we
whatever.
got caught.
Yeah,
Yep.
everybody scattered.
I had a talk with DNRC today. Staff stations is still to go. They're projecting probably maybe the week before the 1st of July or right at the 1st of July. We do have our first fire restrictions call starts next week.
I can't remember if it was next week or the following week.
So-
So it's coming.
So, and essentially that'll just be the kickoff meeting, just being like, hey, we're not in restrictions, but we are getting close.
Yeah.
They did send out the fuel moisture data for the first time. We're all in the green across the board, trending down, of course, but they are predicting with the storms that we'll be getting that should bounce back up again, give us a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Levels on everything.
And then staff station paperwork is due tomorrow, so I sent one more final reminder out to all the fire departments. They'll be getting paged at noon today as well, just, hey, make sure you get your paperwork in. DNRC says they'll take the paper at any point in time, but it gets out of Southern Land Office's hands and it has to go up to Helena and they'll fill it out. And they said the way they work up there is they might miss 2 pay cycles before they get a check. So if they don't get it in before tomorrow. We talked about floodplain stuff, rural addressing, assigned a couple of addresses this week, had a few address verifications, and then Glenn got a bunch of signs up again. And
So
then-
2 new addresses?
Yeah,
We had 2 new addresses and
4 verifications.
yeah, we're gonna have a 3rd address, but I don't think the guy's got his permit yet from Tom, so.
And then kind of talking about with the employees and that, I think what we'll continue to do with the RAS side is we'll eliminate that second position that Greg had. We'll just stick with the 1 per diem.
So one person doing the rural addressing,
Doing the signage and
the
that.
signage.
Yeah.
Year round or part-time, or is it like out, you know, how many hours a year?
We call it per diem because he can only get 18.5 hours per week
Okay,
because he's a working retiree.
Right.
So that falls under the part-time.
but that would be 52 weeks.
Up to, it depends on like, you know, if it's bad weather, we haven't.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing
Like
you
when the
gotta
winter
do, what do you
hits.
wanna budget, you know?
Yeah,
How many hours you wanna budget?
we essentially will budget him like it's all
50.
year,
Okay, that's fine.
but he'll only
Realize
take
it
up.
might not be.
Yeah. It'll probably be, I think he's currently sitting at what, about half in the budget
I
right
think
now,
that's what I
so,
was
so we had plenty of leeway with him.
It's $18, 18 hours a week.
Yep.
18 and a half, yeah.
Okay, and then what's the wage?
15?
Well, our minimum
Okay,
is
well-
16.
Oh, is it 16?
No, don't tell him.
Well, I noticed that the food bank is,
I think
Yeah.
it's definitely worth, it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, we did that last year, but I think,
Yeah, and the cool thing is since he is classified as per diem and he's under part-time hours, we don't have to pay, you know, like insurance, like we don't have to provide him insurance and stuff. So,
Yeah, he's not.
well, that's, yeah, like I said, that's the biggest, when you look at our, you know, it's over 600 grand.
Oh, yeah.
And but it's kind of what makes the low wage
worth it.
work.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just it, is a lot of people look at like, well, and we see the Facebook comments all the time when we post for the road department, it's like, oh, that's such a low wage, and I'm like, yeah, but you're not taking into account the
Yeah,
benefits, the
benefits.
retirement system, what we contribute in, that the actual wage is like almost $10 more
Right,
when you include
Yeah.
all of that.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
and it's local. You're not having to get a camper and
Yep.
live in Glasgow, Montana.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I think we'll just continue with that. Gosh, I feel like we did. Oh, bunch of the going back to the fire stuff. Supply Cash is starting to send orders from the grant that we purchased. So I got County Fires that showed up, and Millstone Fires is all or Hot Creek.
Hot Creek.
Hot Creek has showed up.
What are those?
That's the
The VFA,
yeah the Volunteer Fire Assistance Grant. So
Okay,
it's the stuff we purchased for them, like tools and hoses and
Yep.
that kind of thing.
So those are starting to come in, because when we put the order in, of course, that's when every fire department in the nation basically puts theirs in. So everything's a little back ordered.
Yep.
good.
And that one has already been reimbursed and is back into the account. So, and then we did plan for it again this next year, so we'll just allocate the same, and that's a reimbursement type grant.
Okay.
Next week, you guys will be signing the adoption of our CWPP,
Which is,
Community Wildfire Protection Plan.
They're
So-
right on track, aren't they?
Yep, they're right on track, so once I get the signed signatures from you guys, they'll release the official master copy to us, and
And then maybe we say, okay, now get with Wendy and say, now we have this.
yep,
Yes.
Do we have a chance at pursuing a larger grant
Yep.
like you were before?
Hopefully, yeah.
yep.
Maybe not, but at least you got it. you know.
And then the cool thing, Rachel, I was emailing her today, they got the storyboard map created for us. So, and what that is that's through ArcGIS, and then we can host it, because we have an online GIS account for the county. We don't use it yet, but now we'll be able to actually use it. So we can link that on our Facebook page, and if we ever find who's doing our website, we can put it on the website, people can click on it, and it'll, you know, basically they can click on their area, it'll let them know if they're in the WUI or not, it'll let them know historical fire data, so there's a lot of cool stuff there.
Yeah, we need to follow up on that website. It's-
Yeah. And then if we find them and we stay with them, we need to figure out too, because like the city around us, whoever does theirs, on the main homepage, they have our DES link posted. And you can just go to it and scroll, and it looks just like the Facebook feed, but you don't have to have a Facebook account or so. But on ours, he did it kind of, but it's in like a scroll bar, and you gotta click on it because it's all like blurred out until you click on it, so it's not as user friendly. So that's kind of one of those, we need to figure that out.
Do you guys have any ideas of who might?
I would contact the city and see who did theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because theirs is
some guy-
very user friendly.
Yeah.
We were at the, was it Montana Natural Resource Conservation or whatever? There was a guy there that was talking about, they were struggling with their website as well.
Yeah.
No, but if we just need to find somebody, but it's not gonna be cheap. Morrison Merrily put us in touch with somebody, and it was like $14,000 to set it up. And like, you know, in a year, then the maintenance was a chunk of money too
Yeah.
every month.
Yeah, so software systems in general, the maintenance is, that's where they make their money is.
Yeah,
Actually, speaking of software, our fire department software. So we got all the stuff downloaded, and then, excuse me, I got the hiccups now that we talked about it.
see, aren't you glad you don't have any?
Next week, Darren is going to have an onboarding meeting with them, so they're going to go through all of our data, import the data in, show Darren how to run the system, because he's going to be the super user for it. And then that's that Red X for the fire reports, the
Oh, okay.
personnel reports, all that stuff. And then once we get that initially set up, then Darren will get with Charlie and see exactly what she needs for her reports.
Okay.
Yep.
Just think there's something we were talking. 911 committee.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it kind of worked out with one being sick, and then the other, they were doing work on our repeaters yesterday. So they went out, I believe, went out to Turley Hill, did a bunch of upgrades out there, and they got some of the upgrades for the north repeater in. So,
You know, we want to keep that moving, but if
Yes.
that's a bad idea,
no, it's a great idea.
okay.
Yep. It's one of those that,
Needed to be done.
yes.
It's just that it already is drifting. I mean,
Yeah, 1 week and the meeting got canceled. It's like, oh, okay.
But, you know,
We
so
can
you
get
guys
fired,
gotta
right?
keep a fire under that.
Yeah.
You've got a big voice on that. The idea is that, because I've been catching flack, it's like, well, it won't work if Ron Chip runs it all and all this stuff, and it's like, well, there's a committee here, and there's other people, and they can outvote Ron,
Yep.
But hopefully everybody gets along, but the bottom line is, everybody has to be served.
Right. And truly and honestly, because, how we're saying, well, if Ron's involved, he won't go that. Well, that's just because it's those two have issues with each
Yes.
other. And it literally is, well, he told me to do this, and you're telling me to do the complete opposite. And, I mean, I got friends that are dispatchers, and I hear some of the comments that are made. And I think having it as a committee, then everybody gets served.
It can
And
be.
it's not a spite thing.
It's no personalities,
Yep.
let's work on the facts, the goals, the mission,
Yep.
but they're gonna have, it's gotta be an active committee, and already I've got red flags. So it's gonna drift, and it's drifting, so I don't know.
Yeah.
You guys, I'm just throwing it out.
No, and I definitely understood that, and I actually mentioned that to Ron when he called me to say, hey, we're thinking we're gonna have to do this because I gotta be out there to do this. I'm like, well, it's already an issue then, but having the other person that was unavailable too, it's kind of,
Well, I'm glad you buy into the concept,
Yep.
because I thought if this is a bad idea, then we need to punt, but, because I kinda got the feeling that Cheryl thought there's no way in hell this is gonna work. Just because of that issue.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think this is the only solution to that
Yep.
issue.
But the fact that there's other people on the board, because we'll have the city rep, which I think Keith Salisbury wants to do that because he's the city chief. We'll have me, we'll have Darren, because I represent the rest of the fire council. Darren is DES.
So is this a committee that we bless? Are you under our
I think we
jurisdiction?
Yes.
definitely should.
I'm wondering if we should appoint a chairperson. Or if, maybe that'll keep this thing. And
Yeah,
I'm looking at you as maybe.
That's what I was thinking.
I could do it if that's,
Well, the idea is that we're to boards and committees, we got a little extra from Ben about we need to oversee.
yes.
And that,
I would suggest for your chairperson should probably be whoever the designated PSAP is, and that's the public. It's basically the person that it's appointed in charge of, like, the licensing and
it's So that's wrong.
Oh, it is.
No,
That's not a good idea.
So,
I
well, you could assign the assistant piece out, and that's me.
okay, well, the way I see it,
Yep.
we wanna assign somebody that's gonna take ownership and leadership and actually be non-controversial, you know. And they both got their reasons, I mean, you know, they're, but it's just not working, you know.
Yeah, and that's why, and like I said, I apologize, I double booked because I misread the email and thought we had moved
No,
it,
well, also, so these guys know that Justin sent me, kind of an agenda.
Yeah.
And I didn't read it till after, it was a lot of what I came up with, but it was really good, I mean, and so I wished I would've used that. We said a lot of, I was thinking, what are we gonna, but yours
Yeah.
was a little more, it was concise and it was
concise, and I
really-
tried to do like I did with the refuse thing, was the balance, so it showed the pros and the cons, both
Yes, yeah,
sides of
yeah.
it, and then there were talking points, but
We kinda did that, but
Yeah.
still, the reason, you put the effort in to do that, and that tells me that this is something really I think that might be important, so.
and the way I look at it too is, since we've done this consensus, we've done it in LEPC, we've revamped how that board works, it seems to be going a lot better.
Okay.
Fire council, definitely when I took over, like, you know, it used to be a lot of infighting and not a clear direction, cause not everybody felt like they had their voices heard, and that board is definitely, you know, I'll toot my own horn, it's flourished compared to how it was working. And so, I think having the consensus type of governance when it comes to these boards,
Yeah,
it'll help quite a bit.
among experts.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's maybe something we'll be thinking about, we might talk to Ben about that, but, you know, he kinda told us, you need to oversee these boards, and you
Yep.
need to, and it's, I don't know if it's a board or if it's a committee, I don't know.
Either way,
It's the
you
same
probably
deal.
you could probably label it as a committee, just to make it kind of a little bit easier. But I know Ron did say it, but yeah, ultimately we serve at your guys' pleasure. So we try this committee, and
If it doesn't work,
if it
fine.
doesn't work, or if there's too much headbutting with certain ones and there's nothing getting done, they can be replaced with different representatives. You know.
And it's not like they both don't have expertise. You know, so, okay, so I get it,
Yep.
and there's a lot more to it than I'm aware of.
Yep.
So, it's a real specialty board, and could be really powerful.
Oh yeah. And truly and honestly, the dispatcher evolving to communication officers, like, you know, again, back in the 90s, it was as simple as, you know, answer the phone, hit the pager. That was all they had to do. And now all the additional requirements have come federal, statewide, you know.
Software,
Yep, software.
automatic reports,
Yep.
the fact that there were people being sent to the wrong location, and that feeding it back, not getting back to the
Yep.
dispatchers, you know. All right, well, be thinking about that, if you could.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Sir.
Two left.
The communi- the 911 communications czar.
There we go. Oh, God. This heading lifted up there.
And then just as a reminder, so I'm gone for 2 weeks. I'm on my family vacation, so
Okay.
I'll be completely gone and in Moab, starting tomorrow until